Hello, friends, Blood Bowl fans, Twitch audience, etc. Welcome to what is the final div review for Division 90 and 90 after 13 weeks of REBBL. Once again, it is just me. I am Shadorless. He is still in Japan until Saturday, I believe. So you have to deal with just me again. That's okay. I hope you still like just me. Yeah, so we've had 13 weeks of REL, 13 weeks of REBBL. We've got Division 9D and 9E to take a look at. We're going to look at all the teams, how they've shaped up after 13 weeks. Most of these teams were fresh divisions, so we get to see how many, what development we have after 13 weeks of gameplay on these teams. We can take a look a little bit more in depth at the two teams that are going to playoffs, and perhaps we can take a sneaky, cheeky look at the teams that they are likely to be playing. So, without further ado, I guess we can jump right into Blood Bowl. Now we are small, and by we I mean me. This is 9D, and this is what 9D has shaken up to look like after 13 weeks. So, we saw what happened last week, in that the Average Rice Joes did not win their game, which means that, Jeff did. That's the other division. Jeff did win his game. He did not lose it by 6. He won 2-0, in fact, which means that after the buys get processed and this week gets rolled, Average Rice will finish at 8-5-0. And Jeff will be at 10-2-1. So 8-5-0 is basically 9-2-0. So Jeff will be ahead by 3 points, and that locks up the division for the foul targets. So after him, we had Average Race Joes. Then we had Armor Furnace, coached by Slow. Quick Draw with Union United, Moya, and the Redeemed Dark Elves. Gypsy Prince with the Cheeky Elves. Leazar 127 with the Las Vegas Lizard Gizzards. Sir Willis III with Royalton Circus, one of our replacement teams. Sir Kodiak, Drats Rats, one of the replacement teams. Sage has not played his G-Man match yet, but it should be played tonight sometime. It's just, or tomorrow maybe. But this is like the only time I can do this. So I am, if you can't tell by the accent, I am Americas based. I'm not in America, I'm Canadian. But I am in the Americas, UTC -3. So it is, I can't, and I work 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. So I can't really cover games that take place during that time. So I imagine he'll probably play that game tomorrow and we'll find out, but until then, we don't really know. There's a few games that aren't played, considering this is a day before the division normally rolls. But it's just a special sort of circumstance because the playoff coverage starts tomorrow about 2 hours before I would normally do this review. Because we normally do this right after, and we normally do this right after the divisions get rolled, basically. But I can't because they're like instantly jumping into playoff stuff, and I don't want to cover stuff that's already happened, A, it's going to take away viewers, or I'm not going to get any viewers because the playoff hype, B, I want to watch the playoff hype instead of doing this, to be brutally honest, and C, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to do playoff preview stuff after the playoffs have already started. Anyway, where were we? Drats Rats, Sir Kodiak, another one of our replacement teams. Then we had Here Goes Nothing by Atomex or Atomex, Voodoo, who dropped out, Ladder Climbers, who seem to have dropped out, Buffgate Bills, who seem to have dropped out, and a bye-week team. So let's see what happened this week. In Drats Rats versus... Man, last week we were really bad at predicting stuff. We were really, really bad last week. So let's see if we can get a little bit better than we did last week. So I had Skaven versus Pro Elves, starting off on the wrong foot because I predicted Pro Elves and we have Skaven. So well done, Sir Kodiak, for proving me wrong. Drats Rats, lineman gains MVP, doesn't level up. Ack, the lineman, does gain MVP and does level up. 3 touchdowns to 1. 3 passes for the Union United. 3 successful catches, but they never resulted in touchdowns, it seems. Skaven slightly outbashing the Pro Elves, as kind of expected. More running for the Rats. It looks like Union United tried to play a passing game, and it didn't really work out that well because the Skaven can keep up with you in terms of speed. Let's see. Oh, he had Skitter because I see some stab rolls. Didn't work out very often though. His dice were pretty horrendous. This is all players. Or no, so it's still rats. Dice were pretty bad. Block dice were way better though, so that probably tells the story a little bit. Bombay Week and Royalton Circus is going to be a win for the Kislev. This is a Lizard buy, and this is a Chaos buy. Redeem Dark Elves and the Cheeky Elves. Once again, me being very wrong, apparently. I predicted the High Elves to win, and the Dark Elves won 3-2. This was the Dark Elf team that was like really beaten up against some pretty good statted, pretty good leveled High Elves. So I expected the Dark Elves to not do that well, considering they didn't have most of a team. But we'll see what happened, I suppose. A lot of blocks, way more blocks. Dark Elves doing Dark Elf things, right? Doing a kind of a running game and being a lot more punchy than the High Elves were. 5 KOs and 3 injuries means that they kind of removed some numbers from the Elves, which might have made it a little more difficult for the High Elves to continue. Mostly a running game, it seems. It's kind of surprising considering High Elves are also Armor 8. The big difference is that there's a lot more block. There's a lot more like strength access and block, or free block, I guess, on the Dark Elf team with 4 blitzers versus 2. 4 successful passes. High Elves doing High Elf things, although they just only resulted in 2 touchdowns, and the Dark Elves managed to keep 3. I want to see if there are any stabs. Oh man, that's really good. 4 stabs, 3 working on Armor 8 everywhere is pretty good. That's above average, actually. Quite a bit above average, so that works out. That's a lot of failed pickups for Agi 4. Looks like we had a cheeky little loner reroll somewhere. 1 intercept. This game would have been good to watch, I think. Reasonable block dice, but I think it boils down to the Dark Elves doing getting a lot more attrition. There's a lot of blocks on behalf of the Dark Elves, which resulted in a lot of injuries on the side of the Cheeky Elves, and then they were unable to do things the way they wanted to, I think. Yeah. A lot of dice rolled on behalf of the Cheeky Elves, but that's not to be unexpected, considering they're High Elves. There's going to be a lot of passing. Excuse me one second. A bit of a cough there. I didn't want it to be in the mic. Okay. This is my only correct prediction so far with the foul targets versus the goblins. I predicted the foul targets would take this, and they certainly did. We did watch this game, in fact. We streamed it, and it resulted in a concede, unfortunately, right at the end of the first half. Here goes nothing. Not feeling particularly good about what happened. Jeff forced him to use up all his bribes in the first half, and he lost his secret weapons and stuff, and apparently he had some rough times at work, and he just didn't really feel like finishing it, which is not really a great excuse, but that's what his excuse was, and unfortunately there was a concede, so we'll move on from that. Unfortunate, because it's a match that did matter, but it was likely going to go in foul target's favor anyway. So there we go, and that's what this division looks like because of that win. Foul targets finishes at 10-2-1. Although special mention to Average Rice and Average Rice Joe's, finishing 7-5-0, so actually undefeated. They did not lose a game, which I think is something worth mentioning. So expect Average Rice to do some things in next season, certainly. This would be a really good record in basically any other division. It just, unfortunately, there is only 1 playoff spot available to our lettered divisions. And we may be doing something about that next season. There's some chatter going on with the REL, or the REBBL admins, about how to fix this. Because there was a lot of dropouts and a lot of replacements in all the lettered divisions. Like 9E in particular had a ton of a ton of dropouts and replacements, and they want to try to figure out a good way to fix that. And having 5 lettered divisions is a lot. So they're going to try to change some of these things for next season, but we'll see what actually happens. I'm unsure what they're doing, but I think they're planning on trying to change some things. So let's take a look at the teams, how they finished after 13 weeks. Are there any teams that are missing playing games so far? These are all bye weeks, I think. Bye week. So we won't see the results of those bye weeks because we're doing this a day before it gets processed, but we can take a look at the teams otherwise. First, we have Union United, coached by Quick Draw, the Pro Elves. So we've seen these blitzers before, not a whole lot of extra development there. We've got a Blodge Step Tackle Blitzer, which is pretty terrifying. Blodge Step Blitzer. This is Pro Elf Blitzers are really good. They're one level away from being Blodge Step, which is kind of the goal of a lot of players, honestly. They're like so annoying and hard to knock down and stuff. I'm going to catcher with Wrestle. So he's utilizing that movement 8 to be a bit of a safety. This looks like a new catcher. Yeah, 0 matches. So because looks like he lost his good. He had a pretty good catcher developed. Maybe he lost it, or he just picked up a third one because there looks like a good catcher down here. I'm not sure. Yeah. So this is the one team that did beat the foul targets. Looks like Wood Elves got out elfed by Pro Elves. Get a kick lineman, pretty standard. Dodge lineman. He's missed next game, it seems. We've got a lineman with guard, which is great because those are doubles, and we all know how super valuable guard is on elf teams. A dirty player lineman is interesting. Not something you see very often on all elf teams because elf players tend to be expensive, but pro elf linemen are actually surprisingly cheap, considering they're only movement 7, armor 7. They're surprisingly cheap for elf linemen, so this is actually not bad. They're not like a 40k zombie foul, but they cost 60k, which is a lot more reasonable to have sent off than something like a wood elf lineman or a dark elf lineman or something, which are like 70k. So it's not bad by any means, and it gives you that fouling option, especially when you have a bench. You've got a bit of a bench built up here, so that's not too bad. You can keep it as long as you have a bench. Once your players start dying, that dirty player is not really going to get a whole lot of use, to be honest, right? If you're down to like 10 or 9 players or something, you don't want to be dirty player fouling to leave yourself off, even down more players. But while you're capable of doing it with a bench, I think it's a good idea. Got a plus agi thrower, continuing the tradition of plus agi throwers in this in the 2 divisions I cover, which is really good. He's going to get a lot of work as long as he can stay alive. This thrower is going to get some work done, right? You get accurate, you get roll doubles, hope for strong arm, safe throw, and then you can win games with a thrower and a catcher, because these catchers are like you can win entire games with these 2 players once he gets a bit more level ups. It's because catch, nerves of steel, dodge, block, like catch, nerves of steel, agi 4, pass plus agi. Like you can do nonsense with literally 2 players. Right, because they can mark this guy up. Ideally, you want 2, and you have 3. But they can blitz 1 and mark the other one up, but he still catches it on a 2+ because of Nerves of Steel. It turns out it's really good. We've got another like ball hawk sort of safety type player with tackle and wrestle, similar to this guy, but slightly more expendable considering it's a lineman rather than a catcher. Quite a bit slower because movement 6. So he probably had this one to start and then started developing this one once he got another catcher. They finished up at 7-2-4 and are the only team to have beaten Jeff in the foul targets this season, so well done, Quick Draw. We have the Average Rice Joes, coached by Average Rice, 1460 Lizardmen. Special mention, considering they did go undefeated this season, 7-5-0. And this is what the team looks like. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. Fran, the Croxagores, picked up guard and stand firm. So those are the sort of 2 first skills you get if you don't happen to roll doubles or a stat or something. Guard, great, being strength 5. Stand firm makes it even better because you can utilize the prehensile tail and the guard to keep him in position so he doesn't just get pushed away. Solid complement of block Saurus. Every Saurus has at least block, so suddenly this team is looking really scary. Right around 1400, 1500 is where, probably around 1400 is where Lizardmen tend to do really well. And that's because it's around now you have a solid complement of block Saurus. Two guys picked up Mighty Blow first, so now they have since leveled, so that we are now, with Peter LaFleur and White Goodman, they are now Mighty Blow block, which is great. One SPP away from leveling here. This is where you start to see a little bit of a deviation with Lizards. You'll normally see Mighty Blow or block first until everybody has something, and then the second to third skill can be a few different things depending on where they go. You might see Mighty Blow, you might see some guard, you might see some stand firm, you might see some break tackle, you might see some tackle, and that's the only thing I'd say that this team needs is probably a bit of tackle. There are a lot of elf teams around. Tackle is one that I'd like to see first on one of these guys that levels up, but then guard or break tackle are all totally reasonable options to see as second or third skills here. We've got no super skinks by any means, but we've got some pretty standard skinks with this one is diving tackle and sidestep, another diving tackle sidestep. Super annoying players. Like a diving tackle sidestep skink is really, really annoying to deal with because you just throw them on ball carriers. People can't dodge away, and even if you try to block them off, unless you get a knockdown, which you might not because dodge, then they're just having diving tackle on ball carriers and stuff or on people that you don't want to move is super annoying. Speaking in my beer tradition, I haven't told you what I'm drinking today. This is Trider's Mean Joe Bean. It is a coffee blonde. So it's very coffee-y and delicious. And Dwight, we've got the block sidestep skink. So block is always nice to pick up on skinks. Blodge is super annoying, and this is even Blodge step, which makes him even more annoying. So these are some scary. These are some some super annoying skinks. Nothing particularly scary. We don't have like Agi or anything anywhere. Other options for skinks, if you can get plus movement, is great, or maybe sprint or sure feet if you want like the better one turn option. Sidestep sprint makes one turning a lot easier. Sprint is a good option for one of these skinks when you get it. You've already got sort of three that are the diving tackle sidestep route. Then again, you don't want too many levels on skinks because they inflate your TV a lot, right? Like this block sidestep skink, while a super good player, is 110k, right? Like that's a lot. That's more than a block Saurus. So that's one of the things with Lizard teams is you just got to be careful with your TV management. But this team looks really good so far. Nothing particularly scary. There's only been one double, but it's a solid Lizard team. If you could pick skills, but you're limited to normals and that kind of thing, this is basically what you get. Yeah, I think it's break tackle or tackle or guard on one of these first levels, and then maybe you get frenzy on another one at some point after that. Armor Furnace and Slow. This is Chaos Team. If I recall correctly, they didn't start in the division. They came, or no, they did start in the division. It was the other Chaos Team that joined, but then later left. 7-4-1, so pretty good for a rookie Chaos team because they only actually lost once, and we all know how hard it is as early Chaos to do things. But he managed to keep it up and progress forward and do well. Once again, that would be a good record in any other division, but in the early divisions, when you only get one playoff spot, that's what happens. Chaos team. So we've got two block Chaos Warriors. One of them has picked up Mighty Blow, and one of them has picked up Guard, which makes sense to me. He took two block early to try and win games basically, and then he took two Mighty Blow to be greedy. This is sort of the strategy I normally take with Nurgle or Chaos. Is you need to be greedy with some players. You might not win early, but it's how you get the development. Instantly take Mighty Blow. So I normally do two that go Mighty Blow, Claw, Block, and then I do two that go block, Guard, whatever, maybe block and then Mighty Blow, Claw. So he's doing something like that, which I like. But we've got three Mighty Blow just in the Chaos Warriors now. Mighty Blow Claw is 9 SPP away from being Mighty Blow Claw block. So that's going to be a scary piece in a little bit. Elected, this is the guy we've talked about before, elected to instantly take jump up, which I think is a little weird. He's probably not going to get a ton of use out of the jump up until he gets a few more skills, because he wants to get Mighty Blow and Claw and Block before he gets Piling On, probably. Although you may want to fast track Piling On over Block here, considering you already have the jump up. This guy is probably going to want to become your dedicated killer. It's just a little weird that you took jump up first, because you're probably not going to get a whole lot of use out of it until you get those other skills, and Piling On is still a ways away, right? You need to get Claw first, Mighty Blow first. There's a lot you need before you can utilize that jump up, I think. It depends on Jeff. It depends on what you like to do. I mean, some people, it's if you go full Mighty Blow first on Chaos Warriors, it can be difficult to win early games depending on who you match up against. Having the reliability can make a really big difference. Some people advocate, I don't think either of them is wrong. Some people advocate one way. Some people advocate the other way. Some people like to do a bit of both. I like to do a bit of both. It depends. No, I wouldn't take Piling On Chaos Warriors. They're too slow. They also are like your strength 4 that tend to be your guard players. You really don't want them on the floor and not utilizing their skills. Another Mighty Blow Beastman. He's probably going to go Mighty Blow Claw Block. He's picked up Tackle, presumably because we had a bunch of elves in this division. Block Tackle. Seems good. Then we got a guard one. Block and guard. You can build your Beastman to do whatever. Block here. Looks like he's likely between like these 4 players. He's kind of gonna take block first, and then maybe guard, maybe tackle something until he can, in hope that one of these 4 rolls plus agi, and then you instantly start making that guy your ball carrier. He gets sure hands. He gets and any of the mutations you want, whatever, extra arms. And but you can take block first or whatever on a lot of these guys, and then because block is kind of universally useful, whether you end up being just a support piece or a ball carrier. The only thing that you may wish to consider is that maybe one of them goes wrestle or something. The downside is if he goes wrestle and then you happen to get agi on him, well, suddenly you can't really make him your ball carrier because he is wrestle. And if you have like a wrestle guy somewhere to be able to do like ball hawking stuff, that's kind of nice. But it's not a piece you necessarily need as chaos. You can just punch stuff. Yeah, but it's looking like it's coming along. Definitely got some chaos development here, and starting to become a scary team. It's already pretty scary. Maybe in another season, this is going to be one of those killer, terrifying chaos teams. 4 rerolls is still a little bit much, I think, especially now that you have 5 block on the team. You can probably dump a reroll and drop your TV a bit, because this does not look like a 15-30 team. I would consider dropping a reroll at this point. Let's see. We'll move on to the Cheeky Elves, Gypsy Prince, 1060 High Elves. Been beaten up a little bit. So this is a armor-busted lineman, which is a little rough. He is Agi 5, and Agi 5 can be so good on elves. But one of the big strengths of High Elves is that they are armor 8. So this has become like a slower wood elf. I don't know. The Agi 5 is really hard to give up, but armor 7 is pretty bad. You have other linemen, and but the thing is, and you also want other linemen for line fodder duty, right? You don't he can't be on the line. You don't want him on the line. So you've got 1 right now that is capable of sort of being on the line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But you got a bunch of loners, so you have plenty of line fodder if you want. So maybe you can hold on to this guy. It's difficult to say. I don't know. Somebody who knows elves better than me would probably be able to give you a more definitive answer than that. But I feel like armor 7 is a pretty big detriment when one of your strengths is High Elves is the AV8. Oops, did not mean to click on somebody. We got Polly the Pusher. Seen you before. Frenzy and Sidestep. Definitely going into this sort of surf build. Sidestep to keep him nice and safe on the sidelines post Frenzy surf. We've got Doug, the Blitzer, who's picked up Tackle to be make sure he's capable of knocking down those players. Plus Movement Thrower with a pending level up is pretty cool. He's already got pass and safe throw because high elf, and then he's picked up movement. So we can now, if you want to keep him as a passing player, which you probably do as high elves, you can pick up accurate or something. Hope to roll doubles, get strong arm, become a really good passer. We don't know what he's decided to pick there. I would like it's. Some people would consider firing him. Some people would say Ag5 is really good. I don't know. I would be happy either way, honestly. We've got a wrestle lineman, and we've got a dirty player lineman, which is interesting considering high elf linemen are kind of expensive. But that's what we know. Gypsy Prince was trying to build this high elf team around being a weird fouling high elf team. We knew that from the start. He picked up 2 throwers at the start so he could get an early leader, and it looks like he's fired that guy or he died. I'm not sure which. Got block and kick. So the block keeps him safe. Kick is really good on basically any elf team, on a lot of teams. Plus movement catcher is really scary. Movement 9 is approaching really easy one-turn territory. And he can position himself really easily to accept those throws from the thrower, who is very easily capable of getting into easy ranges with his movement 7. So you're going to see some nonsense. This is prime elf bullshit territory. We're getting if this guy, if he picked up plus Agi or something else crazy, we could get into some serious nonsense with these 2 players once they get a little more leveling. He's made 12 passes. I expect Andrew the Arm to do some things next season if this team sticks around. 6, 2, and 5, sort of middle of the table. And I think he has a pending game this week. Nope, he played against the Dark Elves, right? So Gypsy Prince is finished with this season. Thanks for playing, and we'll see you next season, hopefully. Here goes nothing with Atomex or Atomics. Goblin Team with some crazy level ups. This is Wifey the Fanatic, who's eaten 1 billion MVPs. He's picked up 5 MVPs in 15 matches, which is pretty crazy, especially in a Goblin team when you have so many players. Fired a Strength 4 Agi 5 plus move ward answer on an AV bust. Ugh, no. I don't think I could do that. They're so good. Strength 4 Agi 5 is so good. And yeah, they're going to die, but you need to, I would abuse the crap out of that. He's going to die with Armor 6, but I would abuse the Strength 4 Agi 5 so much until he does die. And then, new ones are good. Probably one of the best out-of-the-box players there is a Rookie Ward Answer, so replacing him isn't the end of the world. But this Fanatic has picked up Grab and Mighty Blow, the 2 best skills for any Fanatic. Grab, you can keep the players you hit wherever you want, and Mighty Blow helps you, A, level up faster, but B, utilize all those 3-die blocks. You're likely to get a Strength 7. Chainsaw has picked up Dodge, so he's now like a real Goblin with the Stunty and Dodge. He can, dodge places. He can be less likely to be knocked over, which is the big thing. Considering the Chainsaw gets used on you when you get knocked over. Having the dodge to just keep him on his feet rather than actually make dodges is probably the main reason for that, and I think it's great. Guard on one troll, block on another. Block trolls makes this so much more reliable. You need to rely on trolls a lot as goblins sometimes, because your goblins are goblins, and a lot of the time you need to rely on your trolls to make those big blocks or even to do blitzes and stuff sometimes, and having a block to save you the risk of using loner rerolls and stuff makes such a big difference. A lot of goblin levels. Sidestep, 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 sidestep goblins. Sidestep is, one of the better Agi skills a stunty player can get, considering they only really have access to Agi, and they already have dodge. Pretty normal. We've got one Sure Feet Wrestle Goblin, so he's capable of doing some ball hawking stuff. Sure Feet to make those GFIs a little bit easier, so he's kind of movement 8, and Wrestle to be able to knock down those players. Agi 4 Stunty means that you can dodge essentially anywhere on a 2+. So that's 2+ cage dives. You're going to be uphill anyway because you're strength 2, and now you also have wrestle. So he can consider getting strip ball or tackle or something stupid and being a really annoying cage diving goblin. The scary thing about that is that Agi 4 also makes your throw teammates a lot more reliable. because they're a lot more likely to stick the landings. So you kind of want to keep him safe for that. And he's also really good at ball carrying because he can just dodge in and out anywhere he wants. But wrestle is kind of not helpful to that game path. So it seems like he's going to be using him as like a cage divey type goblin. Which means that he's not going to be as good at ball carrying because the wrestle means he goes down too. And he's also likely to get exposed. If you fail the cage dive or if you can't escape afterwards, he's going to be a big target and he's going to get hit. But he's going to do some cool things until he dies. Certainly. Got a guard goblin, which is great. Doubles, picked up guard to make this cage diving stuff even a little more silly if you really want to. Guard on a more mobile piece than a troll is always useful. Dirty player. Goblins doing goblin things. That's what I like to see. And then I'm surprised there isn't more dirty player. I'd have 2 or 3 dirty player goblins. But then again, that's me. We've got a diving tackle goblin to be a super annoying player to throw at ball carriers and stuff. Finished the season at 6-2-7, which is not bad at all for goblins. Goblins are hard. They're not exactly the most competitive team in the world. They're more for fun, honestly. They're stunty. Anybody who can do well as goblins is very impressive. So well done, Atomics, on your sort of mid-table record. It's not too bad at all. It is doubles for goblin because it's general. But anytime you can get it, man, I would take it. Oh, I forgot about that. I didn't even think about that. That means he rolled doubles here for these 2 wrestle guys as well. I'm so used to wrestle being a normal skill to pick up. I forgot that this is doubles. This is a lot of doubles for a goblin team and stats and stuff. That's impressive. I mean, even on this guy who rolled doubles, I would have taken dirty player here because sure feet dirty player. You can still move farther to stomp on more stuff. I would probably take dirty player there if you could. You have so many bribes anyway. Utilize it. It's like mighty blow for fouls. So good on goblins. I would have probably taken dirty player here instead of wrestle. This wrestle makes a bit of sense depending on what you want to do. But you could have also taken I don't know, block maybe just to keep him on his feet or something. If you're doing throwing or throwing him, or if he's doing ball carrying stuff because of Edgy 4. I think this is fun. I certainly like it. But when you roll doubles on a goblin, there's a lot of options depending on what you have, and this is the one he's elected to go for. So, redeemed Dark Elves and Moya. This is the Dark Elf team that has gotten utterly annihilated. Oh, he's down an assassin. He had 2 before. 7-4-4, so pretty good record for these Dark Elves, mid-table again. He had 2 assassins, but now he seems to be down to 1. This team has 6 players, and is still team value 1100. That's so few players. Does he have he played a game this week, right? Yeah, against the Cheeky Elves. He won a game this week. He won a game with his barely existent elf team, which is impressive. But the assassin has picked up Blodge. Finally, after 13 games, he has gotten 16 SPP. Assassins are so slow to level because a lot of the times you're stabbing, and stab does not grant SPP. Did he just fire everybody that had no skills? I guess that would make sense, considering there are nobody with no skills here. TV saving measure? I don't know. I guess Dark Elves do bloat really quickly. They can fire up in TV a lot. This is a 6-player 1100 TV team, so that would make sense, I guess. He's got his fake Witch Elf Blitzer. He only has 1 Witch Elf, but why do you need 2? And one of them is a Blitzer. Frenzy, jump up, block. Got a Guard Blitzer, awesome. Guard is always great on elf teams, especially on Dark Elves, who are very sort of punchy. You'll see that a lot. Got a Blitzer who's picked up Tackle and Diving Tackle to be really, really annoying. We got a Catch Dodge Blitzer. And then to, I guess, accept passes from the Agi 5 Witch Elf. Catch is interesting. But, this way he can do more reliable passing plays. Catching with Agi 4 and catch is pretty good. Movement 7 is pretty fast. It's not bad. Blodge, he's likely to stay on his feet to receive those passes. It's not something you see too often with Dark Elves, but could certainly work. Witch Elf with Agi, that's great. It slows down the picking up of block or wrestle, which can be annoying because Witch Elves are a big target. Armor 7, Frenzy, without block, the Frenzy can be kind of unreliable. And as Armor 7, getting hit on such an expensive piece and being able to go down on both downs is pretty scary. So getting the Agi slows down the collection of block, certainly. But Agi is so good, so there's no way you pass that up. And the assassin has finally picked up Blodge, so he's likely to stay on his feet. Blodge and shadowing, he'll be really annoying because people can't knock him over that well. And if they try to just dodge away, he might keep up with them. I was really excited to see assassins on a team this season because you don't see them that often. It was really cool. Leazar and the Las Vegas Lizard Gizzards, second lizard team in this division, 6-1-5, so not undefeated like our other one, but mid-table, about even wins and losses. More developed skinks, less developed Saurus, but that's okay because look at this skink, man. Plus movement. Block. That is a movement 10 skink. Movement 10. That skink is so dumb. Block movement 10. You get sprint, and he's just a natural one-turner. That's dumb. That's so dumb. He's going to be a massive target for people. Although with Blodge, he's going to be more difficult to knock down, certainly. You get sprint, and you get sure feet, and you just one turn without anybody being able to do anything. Just bonk. You get to be a gutter runner. Although with Agi 3 instead of Agi 4. But the only downside is it's a bit harder to get the ball to skinks. Because they're stunty, so you need to hope that the ball lands short, so that you can do if you're going for a one turn when he's a natural one turner, you need to hope that the ball lands short so you can hand off to him. Although with movement 8 on your other skinks, it's not really that scary. You have a lot of movement to deal with to be able to pick up the ball and then get it to the skink to hand off, because you really don't want to pass. The passes can be kind of hard with either with an Agi 1 Saurus or with a stunty skink. The passes can be rough, so you want to try to make it work with a handoff to do your natural one turning, if you can. So the movement 8 on the other skinks is helpful there. But man, that's a good skink. Other skinks, we've got sidestep, pretty standard first skill for skinks. Sometimes you'll see diving tackle or sprint spattered in there, but sidestep is a very popular choice for skinks, so super good. One of them has picked up block as well, so that's another safe skink with Blodge step, in fact. So this is a really easy, if you want to keep this skink off the field, which you probably want to because he's a big target, bring him on for one turns. You can have a really good ball carrier in the Blodge step skink. You can sideline cage really well with him. Blodge step is good for that. Sauruses, less Saurus development than the average Rice team, because not everybody has block, but we do have 4 block Saurus, 2 rookie ones. And one of these block Saurus has Mighty Blow, so that'll accelerate his leveling a little bit and can also be a little scary for opposing teams. And we've got a Blodge Saurus, which is pretty good. Blodge is great to have on Saurus. It makes them really annoying to knock down with Strength 4 and Blodge. You just have to have that block first. If you roll doubles first and have dodge first, a Dodge Saurus is kind of difficult to continue leveling because you're going to make blocks with your other Saurus, your more safe ones first. And the dodge isn't really that helpful with Agi 1, but if you get block first and then you get dodge, that's a great Saurus. You can pick up guard next, probably, and then maybe stand firm. And you have a really annoying support piece, right? Strength 4, armor 9, blodge, guards, movement 6 to put him anywhere you want. Maybe break tackle. I would do guard next and then either stand firm or break tackle. Break tackle synergizes really, really well with dodge. Really, really well with dodge. And if he has guard, then you can put him anywhere you want, right? That's a mobile guard piece that is capable of going anywhere you want him to and he's difficult to knock over because Blodge and Strength 4. Like, that'll be a really good source in, you know, another 14 SPP. He's good now, but once he gets guard, this guy's going to be a monster. Almost with Kaz away on the Kroxigor, so you'll be able to get another guard piece in there probably. Stand Firm is another option for Kroxigors you see sometimes. Guard first in most cases, but Stand Firm, there's an argument for Stand Firm as well. Unless you roll something dumb like doubles and get block, of course. Jeff, you've been removed from the league. Oh no. No, that's because Jeff and the Foul Targets are our playoff contender, and by contender I mean playoff representative, from Division 9D. He will be going to the playoffs with this somehow still alive, utterly disgusting Wood Elf team. Special mention to Oak Branch the Treeman, who leveled up in his last game, picked up block, but he did roll double sixes. This could be a Strength 7 Treeman, guys, and I hope everybody gives Jeff shit for not taking the meme level and having a Strength 7 player that would then have been a legend of REBBL. The Strength 7 Treeman that clearly would have lasted forever and been a hero. But instead, he decided to be boring and take the skill that is like way, way better and way more likely to help him win games. Like, so, you know, Jeff, come on, man. Taking the skills that make you win instead of the skills that are fun. What kind of Blood Bowl player are you? I'm just joking. Block is the correct choice there, like 99.9% of the time. But that's really good. That's a block tree. He's suddenly so much more reliable in doing things. You don't have to spend those. You'll less likely have to spend those rerolls on loners on a loner player. And block Mighty Blow is just and block Stand Firm, super annoying. You can tie up other players really well, multiple other players considering Strength 6 instead of just 4 or 5. This is going to be a pretty useful piece to have going forward. I know, right? But Strength 7. That's a 3-die block on any Strength 3 player naturally with no assists. I know, right? You should have played for the Superstar Shootout. Like, I would have put a Strength 7 tree in the Superstar Shootout. But instead you decided you want to try to win games. So I guess that's fine. So we've got 2 really good word answers. We've got the classic sort of remove the ball from you no matter what you do word answer with the strip ball and tackle. So you leap into cages and you strip ball tackle players and you steal the ball from them. And then he's got a Agi 5 sidestep frenzy ward answer. So he can do some crazy blitz stuff with this guy. Agi 5 will allow him to dodge or leap anywhere he wants. This is going to be really easy to pull off surfs using that leap and that frenzy and that sidestep to keep him safe on the side while surfing players really well. We've got a catcher who's got sure feet and block, so he's a great threat to dump into the end zones, or your opponent's half of the field anyway. You know, he's not very likely to go down with Blodge. He's got sprint sure feet, so he's basically movement 11, which is really good for getting him places, and catch, obviously, for catching things. Rookie catcher, not quite the level of target number 3, but he'll get there. In the tradition of Agi 5 elf throwers that in these 2 divisions, we've got our second one of the night with Farron, the Agi 5 wood elf thrower. He's got sure hands, pass, and Agi 5. Already a really gross player, already a really gross thrower, and he's only going to get worse when he picks up accurate or knowing Jeff and his level up rolls. He'll get doubles and then get strong arm or something, and this thrower is going to become a monster if he doesn't die. Thrower is super nice. It's right with this thrower and this catcher, it's super easy for you to 2-turn, basically. With this catcher, it's even an easy enough to 1-turn. You don't need a whole lot of pushes to get it done. Yeah, if you can get strong arm or accurate or anything, suddenly he becomes really, really good. He's already really good, but that would be even better. And then somehow you've got a bunch of leveled linemen that haven't died yet. You even have a bench, which is pretty amazing. Not too much to talk about here. Dodge, block, blodge linemen. But what we're talking about expensive line players is 110k. But it is blodge, so, pretty good. Blodge Agi 4 is pretty good. And kick, standard wood elf stuff. Standard elf stuff, basically. Kick on a player somewhere is really good. But you've got some pretty nice elves that are going to be annoying to knock over even on the line. And then some nonsense plays you can pull off with stealing the ball with this guy, picking it up with this guy, and throwing it to this guy, and scoring basically whenever you want. All while keeping your players safe around the block treeman. So this is a really good team, and I'm going to cheer you on in the playoffs, certainly. I think I get first dibs at casting your playoff games, by the way. So if you want to, whenever you get that scheduled, try to let somebody know, because it'll go into the playoff scheduling calendar thing that the sports reporters keep up. But I think I get first dibs on claiming your match. So that'll be fun. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the playoffs. Not quite undefeated. 1 loss all season, but 10 wins and 2 draws. Really good record. Congratulations, Jeff, on your playoffs. Hope you do well. Jeff's game. Jeff will be playing either Orcs or Chaos. We are unsure yet. I can take a look at those teams after we finish the this division here. We'll skip all of this stuff, and we've got Drat's Rats by Sir Kodiak, replacement team. So he finished off at 7-0-5. Although a lot of these, some of these were admin losses or admin wins, because he came in about halfway through, I think. So did really well. Won basically all of his games since he actually came into the game. He lost to Jeff, unsurprisingly, but he lost, and I think these were all admin wins, if I recall, or admin games. Yeah, 2-1, 2-1, 2-1. He lost to the Negro Nut Punchers, it seems. So really, he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7-2, which is a really good record. And if you had played the whole season and you were in not a lettered division, you probably would have been a playoff contender. So well done, Sir Kodiak. Take a look at the team. Mighty Blow Storm Vermin, who's also armor busted. That's rough. I think you consider recycling him once you get the money. Storm Vermin, having more armor 7 players is bad, especially when Storm Vermin are the ones who are likely to get hit, because those are the guys who are going to be marked up on people. If he was Mighty Blow Claw, I would keep him around for sure, because Claw is tough to get, and when you get it, it's amazing. But since he's only 1 skill, and that skill is an easy one for them to get, maybe once you get the money, consider recycling him. Did he lose to you as well? I didn't see that. I may have read it wrong. Oh, he did, yes. There we go. So 6-3. Still pretty good. Got a guard Storm Vermin. Pretty standard. It's your only easy guard access. And it helps a lot with doing some nonsense gutter runner, cage dive kind of stuff, or blocks in other places. So it's nice to see. Some people do the double Mighty Blow kind of thing, just to increase your chances of getting Mighty Blow Claw. It turns out that doubles when you need them on 2 specific players can be kind of hard to get, because it's a 1 in 6. So every pair of levels you have a 1/3 chance of getting it. So you're gonna need 2 sets of levels basically to have a reasonable shot at it. So it's pretty common to see them go Mighty Blow first on both Storm Vermin, because if one of the other rolls doubles, you can instantly get guard, or instantly get claw. Sorry. Whereas this guy, if he rolls doubles now, he can get claw, because you want to pick it up. You don't want to waste that. But then he's guard claw, and he doesn't have the Mighty Blow. So that's a thing some people do, but it's just basically to game the system and hope that you get the level ups you need later. Sometimes guard can be more conducive to actually winning games, but Mighty Blow first and on both is kind of the more greedy play, I think, or the more greedy path. When you're playing in an Eternal League, eventually they'll get Claw, so you can you can pick up guard first if you really want to, and try to gain those wins a bit faster. Got a Blodge, Sidestep Gutter Runner, definitely for ball carrying. We've got a Blodge and Big Hand Gutter Runner, so he's very good at ball retrieval. With Agi 4 and Dodge, he can kind of go wherever he wants, especially if you can pick up another Agi or a 2 heads or something. To make it be able to dodge into those tackle zones. Because if you're using Big Hand, obviously you're dodging into tackle zones, or Pouring Rain. It kind of cancels rain, but it also, the big thing about it is that it ignores tackle zones. So if you're picking up the ball in tackle zones, you're obviously dodging into tackle zones to pick up the ball. So getting 2 heads or something, if you can also pull that off and get another double, would be amazing, and you become a crazy player. Because right now, you do have the built-in reroll in your RIG4, but you can pick up the ball no matter what on a 2+. So he becomes a really good ball recovery player. It becomes even better when you if you can pair that with another, you know, dodgeable skill like plus agi or 2 heads or something. He does have a kick rat, which is pretty amazing for rats because you want to take it on linemen, and linemen die because they are movements or armor value 7, and that's what Skaven do. He's only got he doesn't have the, so he does have the ball recovery player, but he doesn't have the ball getting player, as it were. Like he doesn't have the strip ball tackle sort of gutter runner or the wrestle gutter runner. And I feel like that's because one of these gutter runners is new. That guy was 6 matches, and this guy is 2. Yeah, so I think he had one, and then he lost him. But we're likely to see these guys, one of them at least, go wrestle first, and then probably tackle or strip ball or something. Unless one of them gets like plus movement or something, and you can start building up that natural one-turner. But he's got like kind of 3 of the gutter runner pieces you want. He's got a recovery piece, and he's got a carrying piece, but he doesn't have the like steal the ball piece. And I think he did until one died, unfortunately. But it's very difficult to have everything you want at all times as a Skaven team, considering armor 7 everywhere. Sometimes players die. Got a block thrower. So he does have this piece that can pick up the ball and deliver it to the gutter runner pretty easily if he wants to as well, with sure hands and throw and stuff. And he has 2 wrestle linemen, so he can use these guys in a pinch to do the sort of wrestle job. They're not going to be able to like dodge into cages as easily because they don't have dodge or agi 4. But if your opponent leaves a corner of the cage open or something and you have the opportunity, you can throw these wrestle guys in there to try to get something done and then recover with a big hand gutter runner. So you can use these guys until you get something a little bit better in one of the gutter runners, but looking pretty good. You think he's going to re-roll next season? Okay. A little unfortunate because this is a cool gutter runner and I like to see him do some more things, but if that's what he wants to do, that's what he wants to do. Lastly, we have Royalton Circus, another replacement team. Sir Willis the Third, Kislev, 6-1-3, but another team where some of these are admin games because they replaced stuff. But other than that, it's a pretty good record. 3 rerolls. Sometimes you see 4 on Kislev because leaps are kind of a thing that you have to spend rerolls on a lot. You don't really need to, though, when you have 2 agi 4 linemen. 2. These guys are so good at leaping. A couple more levels and they're going to be really scary because agi 4 leap with long legs is pretty serious. You can get anywhere you want on a 2+. And, you know, then you can start going stuff like wrestle, strip ball, or whatever, and you can become a pseudo war dancer, which would be pretty cool on those guys. We've got 2 linemen. This guy is pretending to be like a Bretonian. He's got wrestle and fend. Another wrestle lineman. We've got 3 blitzers. They're not in the right order, man. Come on, put them all together. One has got block. And this one has got block. So getting some block on the team is really good. You have none as a Kislev team initially, so being able to pick that up to have a few reliable blocks a turn is really nice, especially when you have these blitzers who are your big movement, your armor 8. They've also got diving tackle and jump up, so they can utilize that block pretty well. And the diving tackle is super annoying on some players. We've got one catcher who's picked up dodge. Good thing to keep him on his feet and also to reposition him wherever you want because agi 4, good player. Diving catch is cool. You don't see it happen very often, but it's a really neat skill. I like Kislev. I like watching Kislev. I don't think I'd ever like to play Kislev, to be honest. Then we've got another catcher who's doing some catchery things. He's picked up sure feet and sprint, so he's basically movement 10, which is pretty good. Get wherever he wants, really. And you can dump these catches in the end zone. You can use these agi guys to throw the ball at them and utilize that diving catch if you really want to. Dodge is going to keep him on his feet, also let him utilize that agi 4 and that really high movement to get wherever he wants, which is pretty cool. Good looking team. Kislev are one of those teams that definitely needs some development to get anywhere, though. Like, you're likely to start with agi 3 in most places. You're likely to fail some leaps, and that can cause some problems early on until you get some more reliability skills, especially since you don't have stuff like block or dodge. But now that you do, this team is starting to look a lot better, certainly, and a couple more levels in key places, and once you get up to that like 1400 TV mark, we'll start to see some really good things out of this team, I think. So that's that for Division D. Let's check the playoff standings really quick here. Because while we have Jeff here, we can go see if we can find the two teams that he's likely to play against in the first round matchup. It has not been confirmed yet, as far as I know, because the Sage has not played his game yet. So he's going to be playing whoever finishes second place in G-Man 1, which is currently Manus Atra, who has played all 13 of his games, so he's not going to change point totals. But he has the same point total as the Sage, but the Sage has played one less game. So if the Sage ties... If the Sage loses, he's going to play Manus Atra. If the Sage wins, he's going to play the Sage. And if the Sage ties, if he ties 1-1 particularly, then something weird happens that I don't actually know, because at that point, Manus Atra and the Sage will be dead tied, I think. And I don't know how the tiebreak works in that case. But it will be one of those two teams. So let's go... do I actually have access to G-Man? I do not, so I can't really look at those teams very well. I mean, I'm sure I could find them if I really wanted to. I can't browse through all of them. I could do it, but I'm too lazy, to be honest. Jeff knows who he's playing. It's one of those two teams. It'll be either the Sage or Manus Atra. Sage is Chaos, and his team is a little bit softer than it used to be, I guess we'll say. It was a terrifying team. I can pull it up here. It was a really terrifying team, but he's lost quite a few players. He lost one of his good warriors. He's got 2 warriors now that are just 1 skill. He has 2 that are like Mighty Blow, Claw, Block, Guard, Tackle, and he's got 1 that's Mighty Blow, Claw, Block, Guard, Piling On. But he has 2 rookie warriors. He's got a plus strength sort of Surfy Frenzy goat. He's got a Mighty Blow, Claw, Block goat. He's got a Dirty Player Kick goat. He's got the Sure Hands block, 2 heads, extra arms, kick off return, armor bust goat, and another goat with block frenzy. So if TD differentials are the same, it's head to head, and then after that, it's if the head to head was also a tie, I think they play a friendly match. If I recall correctly, I'm not exactly sure how that works. I know it's points first, and then TD differential, and then head to head. I think is the first 3 tiebreakers in REBBL. So then the Manus Atra's team is Dawa Tigers, and it's a terrifying orc team. We've got 2 block guard blorks. We've got a block blork. We've got 1 with Mighty Blow, Jump Up, Block, Tackle, Piling. That doesn't seem right. I think I might be looking at a weird thing. Anyway, the Sage's team is a lot less scary than it used to be. Manus Atra's team is pretty terrifying. So Jeff will be playing one of those two. Whenever the Sage plays his game, we will know for sure. So now we're going to move on and take a look at 9E. Normally I would do predictions here, but there are none. And playoff predictions are not my purview. If you want to see what people have predicted for playoff matches, go watch Metal's thing that happened on Saturday. It's on his YouTube, Full Metal COS on his YouTube and on his Twitch. There's a VOD where it's like 3 hours long, where him and Superfed and Crusader and Herringzord went through every potential initial playoff matchup and talked about the teams and predicted things and stuff. I don't know. You'd have to ask if it's something that really matters. You'd have to ask the one of the REBBL mods. I'm pretty sure it's TD differential and then the head-to-head result. So like if you won against the person you're tied with, that comes after TD differential. You've never lost to Manus? All right. Well, good luck. I'll be cheering for you certainly. Those are both scary teams to get thrown up against in the first round. Pretty well developed. G-Man won. Orcs or Chaos. They're both scary, but I believe in you, so good luck. Let's move on to 9E. I need to message Razor Sharp and tell him that we're starting 9E because he wanted me to do so. Oh, he's here just as I sent the message. Okay. So, this is 9E. Oh, we've rolled the division, it looks like. Or at least we've processed Does Not Knock Us by week. We have. So this is 9E. We've got Hogstench locked up in first place. A little unfortunate because his last 2 games were both buys. So he had a buy this week and he had a buy last week. Where is that? Here it is. So he's had 2 weeks in a row with no Blood Bowl, and he's about to go up into the playoffs. I mean, with no Blood Bowl with this team. I mean, he's probably played other places. So that maybe being a bit of a practice for this team or something is a little unfortunate, and it's kind of sad to finish up your season with 2 bye weeks. But we're, like I said, the REBBL admins are trying to figure something out to make that a little less problematic next season. I think this Sage would be a better matchup for your Wood Elves too. So let's hope that happens. So yeah, Hogstench locks up this division with 10-3-0, undefeated. Really good record. A lot of bye weeks in 9E, unfortunately though. Like I said, they're going to try to fix that for next season because it was a little unfortunate in some of the letter divisions in particular. We got the other option we had from this division was Vulpes and Kulta with the Komodo Killers. If he had won his game before, he would have been 10-3-0 as well, and he would have won on TD differential. He would have been tied with record for the Snot Knockers, but he needed to win for the TD differential. He would have won on TD differential, so Vulpes would have gone if he had won that game, but he didn't, unfortunately. Captain Bubsy, or Morally, with Friendship is Massacre, finished third, 7-4-2. Archangel's Will, has not played his game this week yet. Archangels versus Chew Toys. So he's currently 7-3-2, but he could move up, so Archangel could finish third in this division, with 8-3-2 if he wins. Or if he ties 7-4-2, it'd be a tie with third place, and then you'd have to figure out touchdown differential and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know what that looks like. Why don't I take a look really quick? So we scroll down to 9E. Let's see. Archangel currently has 8 TDs, and Friendship is Massacre has 8 TDs, or 8 TD differential. What was I looking at? So if you tie and you tie, so if you tie, you will dead tie with Friendship is Massacre. So we would need to know what your head-to-head record with him was, which is a loss. So if you tie your game coming up, if this works the way I think it does, but don't quote me on it because I'm not 100% sure, I think it's your head-to-head that matters if TD differential is also tied. So in this sense, Friendship is Massacre beat you, you would end up below them if you tied. So if Archangel wins, he will be in third place, and if he ties, he'll be in fourth. I'm pretty sure it's how that works. Then we have the Broken Boys, one of my favorite teams this division. I love seeing Kemry, and he did really well at the start. He went 4 or 5 games without losing at the start, and I was really impressed. Fell off a little bit farther to the end when he lost one of his Tomb Guardians / other teams got a bit of development and could keep up with the strength of the Kemry. But 7-3-3 is not a bad record at all for Kemry, so well done him. Are there any other matches that haven't been played this week that I need to think about? Warpfire Stalkers are going to get a bye. One Cheese, once the king of the division, fallen off in recent weeks, sadly. 7-1-5, Rex Longbone. Unfortunate, had a few bad games, or a few not winning games at least. he was at the top of the division for a while, but then his last like 3 games in a row were against like the top 3 teams of this division, so they were much harder than his previous games, I think. But he did well as well. See our boys Giant Stags finished at 6-3-4. Negro Nut Punchers Squids at 5-1-7. Liverful, coached by Razor Sharp, 4-3-6. A lot of these were admin losses because he came in pretty late in the division. Chew Toys by Abnormal 43, 2-5-5. Knights of Windrip, Gale 3-1-9, another really late addition in replacements. So he, a lot of those are admins as well. Yeah, there's a lot of really good coaches in these divisions. Like the letter divs aren't like new coaches or anything. It's all about new teams, right? So anybody who re-rolls is going to be in one of these divisions. It just happens that there are so many REL coaches. There are so many of us in Americas that they had 8 regular divisions and then 9 A, B, C, D, and E. So 5 full divisions of fresh teams. So there's a lot of... The downside is it also is where the new players go because they'll buy by default rolling fresh teams, and there wasn't quite enough to fill up all 5 divisions. And then there was a lot of cycling in and out from some players who decided Blood Bowl wasn't for them or their team wasn't for them or whatever. And in 90 in particular, we had a lot of drops and fill-ins, so just kind of unfortunate. But hopefully we'll see that fixed in the future. Oh, that's really unfortunate, Rex. 5 strip ball blitzes, 4 of 5 landed just right back in his hands. Oh. Sometimes Agi4 does Agi4 things, so that kind of sucks. Where was I? Warpfire Stalkers 2-3-7, but they're going to be 3-3-7. Another really late add-in. So this was an Underworld team that got added in like really late into the season. So they're stunty like Underworld. Underworld aren't really stunty, but they have stunty players. Underworld are a hard team with 0 levels, and he came in really late into the division against already developed teams. So it was going to be a hard go for Grey Wesker, but he did all right, certainly. That's a buy, and that's a buy, so we don't need to look at those. Let's take a look at the games. See if I'm any better at predicting 9E than I was at predicting 9D, or me and Shadora were at predicting both of the divisions last week. So, let's see. Where are my predictions? Underworld buy. Friendship is Massacre and the Komodo Kill is morally doing morally things and always doing the exact opposite of whatever I predict him to do. And I even said this last week. I was like, I need the Lizards need to win if they want to take this, if they want to take the playoff spot. So I'm going to predict the Lizards to win because I think they're going to try really hard and I think they're going to do really well. But every time I predict either for or against morally, I'm always wrong. And I said that last week and I was right because I predicted the Komodo Kill is, but in particular, I can't win with morally fashion. He won because whatever I predict, he does the opposite thing. So, yes, technically I was wrong, but I'm going to claim, a morally victory, but on that one, because I did say that I'm going to predict Komodo Kill is, but morally is going to win because that's how it works. Khemri and the Wood Elves, we had a tie. I predicted the Khemri to win, so I'm only half wrong here. Oh, I should actually look at this game. We did watch this. We streamed this game, so the that result is on my VOD somewhere. We got an MVP on the Strength 5 Saurus. MVP on a zombie, unfortunately. But there were some really good armor rolls, basically, on behalf of morally, right? 5 injuries inflicted, 1 kill. These were basically all, the Saurus just went down like flies, and they stayed down on 33 blocks. It was really hard for the Komodo Kill. The first half was pretty normal, I think. But then suddenly the sort of armor dice went against the Komodo Killers, and their pickup dice and stuff didn't work the way they wanted to. It was a good game, and it was great to watch, certainly. But the armor dice were definitely in favor of morally this game. A lot of SPP for morally. 6 casualties, 1 death off of 33 blocks when you're mostly armor 9 and there's no claw on the opponent's team is not something that should really happen. okay, so the first half of like the first half, I guess, is what I'm saying. The game was basically over by halftime, but the first half of the game that really existed. So the first quarter, I suppose. So yeah, that was a game. I would go watch that. There was a bit of I wouldn't. I don't like calling things dicings, but the dice certainly did not help. We'll put it that way. 1-1. I predicted a win for the Khemri here. And we had a 1-1 tie, so I'm only half wrong. MVP on a regular old skeleton. MVP on a loner lineman, unfortunately. So that's 5 wasted SPP. Yeah, three players on... Yeah, well, that's what I said, right? I was watching, and like, oh, this isn't going well for Morally, because it was just like, there were four blocks and 3 KOs or something. I was like, well, this is bad. And then you recovered fairly well, managed to get your mummies involved. You were playing well despite being like down initially, and then suddenly the dice just flipped, and Blizzards went down left and right, and that was pretty rough. That was probably pretty frustrating, honestly, for the Komodo Killers, considering that they had started off the game so well. Anyway, most of the possession for the Broken Boys, but Wood Elf's doing Wood Elf things. They can steal the ball and score, pass catching, etc. A lot of bashing, man. 29 blocks with 2 KOs, 3 injuries, and a kill is a lot for Wood Elves to pull off. 37 blocks, 4 KOs, 4 injuries, and 2 kills is more expected, considering we have Khemri versus Wood Elves. Armor 7 versus some Blitz Raws with Mighty Blow Tackle against Armor 7 is pretty scary, honestly. So I would expect to see a lot of hurt on behalf of the Broken Boys throwing stuff at the Wood Elves. That's a lot of pushes. It should be twice as many as everything else, but that's still a lot of pushes compared to the other dice. Oh, the block dice on behalf of CR Boys were not very good. Most of these stumbles are actually knockdowns, because there's no dodge on behalf of Khemri's, but still, that's 17 total, like, knockdowns, and 16 skulls, which is pretty rough. Not great. I'm at the Wood Elves, maybe 7. Although the D6 made up for the block dice. Wow, that's a lot of 6s compared to 1s. I'm excited to see what those two teams look like, especially since... Did I see there was a death? There was a death. There was a death sustained. He lost one of his best Tomb Guardian early in the season, and there are 2 deaths sustained over here. I'm interested to see what happened with those teams. We'll get there when we get there. Liverful versus the Knights of Windrip. This is another match we watched, actually, on stream. I predicted the Bretonians to win, and again, half wrong because a tie. You just gotta bash. Just gotta bash. Liverpool Knights of Windrip. Troll Slayer picked up the MVP, which is gonna level him, which is good. And we've got a blocker picked up MVP, which is not gonna level him, but it puts him close. We did watch this on stream, which is pretty good. That's a lot of bashes, a lot of hits on behalf of the dwarves. Doing a lot of hurty things, but it was basically like a sort of failed 2-1 grind, as it were. The Knights of Windrip had the offense first, and they scored on like turn 7 or turn 6 or something. Basically, the dwarves I think had 2 or 3 turns left to score. I came into the game late, so I missed the first few turns. I'm not sure exactly what happened there. But I came in when the dwarves had the ball when they were down 1-0 with about 2 turns left. So I think what happened there is that so the Knights, the Bretonians scored on turn 6, which gave the dwarves only 2 turns to score, which is pretty hard for dwarves, honestly, since they're so slow. And then we went to half number 2, and the dwarves spent 8 turns grinding up the pitch, doing dwarf things, and scored. So it ended up as a tie, just one touchdown on behalf of each team in their own offensive halves. Knights of Windrip doing well to make it to limit Liverpool to only 2 turns to try and score on the first half, and then Liverpool doing dwarf things and grinding up the pitch and getting the score in the second half to tie it up. 4 KOs and 4 injuries, so there's definitely some SPP on behalf of the dwarves for sure. which is always good. Look at these dwarf dice. Rolled like 1-digit number of every number because there's just so few things that aren't blocks. Whereas there are a billion block dice. That's a lot of pushes too. Way more pushes than you'd expect, actually. Way less block dice for the Bretonnians, but way more regular dice. It's like about as typical a dwarf game that I could imagine. Negaron Nut Punchers and 1 cheese. This is me being... am I wrong again? Yep, wrong again. Like, these last 2 weeks, throw them out the window. I have done so badly. We were really... To be fair, we were really good the first, 11 weeks. Then week 12 and week 13, everything went to hell, and I don't know what happened. But we were really good for, 11 weeks, and then the last 2 weeks we've been really bad at predicting stuff. So we've got the rats and the dark elves. From what I'm hearing in chat, Rex Longbone did 5 strip ball sort of cage dive-esque things on the ball carrier, and 4 of those 5 times the ball just bounced back directly into the hands of another dark elf. So that's unfortunate and definitely didn't help. But if that's how the game went in terms of luck, still finishing 2-1 is pretty good. 40 blocks, 32 blocks. Couple removals on the side of the Nut Punchers, but not a whole lot on the side of the Skaven. There's some KOs, but KOs come back. Mostly expected. The Dark Elves can outbash Skaven pretty easily. It looks like they had the ball for the majority of the time, and the Skaven sort of managed to score really quickly to get their one, whether that be a 1 or 2 turn, or if they happen to steal the ball and score really quickly one time. I'm not really sure. But I feel like this is a very Skaven-y game, and then in which you sort of throw dice at stuff, and this time the dice did not work out the way you wanted them to. Unfortunately. Yeah, I know, right? Well, to be fair, Shadora was here for the prediction that he was here for week 11, where we predicted week 12, and we were wrong with everything. And then for week 12 to week 13 that I predicted myself, I was still wrong. Shadora was really wrong too. And if I recall correctly, there was one thing from last week that we differed on, and I was right and he was wrong, so he was even worse than me. So, it's not just Shadora. I'm entertaining too. Archangel's Will and the Chew Toys has not played yet because we're doing this a day early, essentially. As a reminder, I did predict the Wood Elves would win this. So if Archangel's Will and the Wood Elves win this, they will be in third with 8-3-2. But I can't tell you what happened in that game because it hasn't happened yet. It should ideally happen before sometime tomorrow. I'm not sure when it's scheduled for. 10 p.m. EST tonight, which is in an hour and a half. This stream is not going to last an hour and a half longer, but I could pop on and cast that if people are interested. I'm certainly around. It's 11 p.m. my time, which is about half an hour before I normally go to bed, but it's playoffs. It's this isn't playoffs, but we're getting close to playoffs. This is the hype season. I'm happy to sacrifice some sleep if people want to watch that. Yeah. I don't know if people are interested. Let me know in chat, and I will try to swing it. I'll sacrifice my sleep for you. So let's go take a look at the teams after this. Archangel's Will. Speaking of, got a Wood Elf team here. Not a Strength 7 or Block Tree. Disappointed. 0 SPP. I don't even know if this tree has played any games. Yeah, he's played 1. So not a whole lot of chance to get that block or Strength 7. We've got another pretty typical word answer here with Strip Ball and Tackle. Really good word answer. Those are always amazing to have. And he's 2 SPP from leveling again. I don't know what you get at that point once you already have Strip Ball and Tackle. What do you pick up? I guess you hope for a stat. You could always take Pro to try to get an extra shot at re-rolling the block dice without having to spend a team reroll. That's an option. Some people I think would consider. You could always just do sidestep to keep him alive more. It depends on whether you kind of want to dedicate him to the removing balls from players, which he kind of is with strip ball and tackle, or if you want him to be able to do some other things too. Like pro is good. Sidestep would be good. Jump up would probably be good. Yeah, there. I'm seeing some agreement with what I'm saying in chat there. Yeah, potentially wrestle. It's a little wasted with block, kind of, considering you already started, but it does make the ball removals a lot easier. If you want to really dedicate yourself to that plan. So yeah, sneaky git. Take sneaky git. That's a good skill. Let's see. So we got another word answer who's 1 SPP from leveling, Vanity Pass. We've got Sidestep and Mighty Blow. He's picked up Mighty Blow, which is great. What do we think next level here? Maybe Frenzy with Sidestep and the Mighty Blow. You get 2 shots at knocking people over. That's another. It makes surfs easier, and then you're safe on the sidelines with the Sidestep. Tackle is another good option to make sure that you're utilizing that Mighty Blow on low armor players. A couple good things you could go there. We've got a catcher who's movement 9, nerves of steel, block, sure feet, sprint. That's a 1 push away from. Let's say a 1 push away from 1 turning catcher, and he's even got nerves of steel, so that makes the catches in if you don't manage to like knock down the players that you're pushing around with easier, or when you're just not trying to 1 turn, even if they mark him up, he's got nerves of steel and dodge to easily get out. We've got a catcher with wrestle, which we've seen before, right? Movement 8 on a not ward answer. Movement 8 sprint. You have another option for like ball safetying or ball hawking kind of. It's difficult to get safe Mighty Blow blocks with Frenzy, but with you can use it for surfing and stuff, especially since you have Sidestep. It keeps you safe after the surfing is done. And you also get 2 shots at taking out people, which is kind of nice too. It can be difficult to set up. It's a different way of playing, but some people will take it, some people won't. Got an accurate thrower. Not quite the agi throwers we've seen in other places, but it is accurate, which is something. Now we hope for strong arm or plus agi or something and do ludicrous passes. Good player. A couple linemen with varying skills, like a smattering of various things. Block lineman, kick lineman, dodge lineman. Kick is amazing for elves. Block and dodge are both reasonable skills if you already have kick and you don't want to pick something else. This is unfortunate. This is a guard lineman. Guard is amazing. It's also niggled. Niggles on elves are so scary because it's very likely that he's going to be removed. And you're just down a player. But with players like that catcher, it's okay to be down a player, really. That catcher can do some nonsense. And guard is so good on wood elves. Guard on elf teams in general is just so good when you can pick it up. It's very difficult to argue for firing him, I think. Niggle is so bad, especially on the guard guy, because you want to keep him around, and he's likely to be the one who's getting punched because he's guard, so he's going to be next to players. So that's really terrifying. It's a tough decision. It's not cut one way or the other easily. Like, on the one hand, guard is amazing. On the other hand, niggles are awful. And if anybody's going to get hit, it's probably this guy because of the guard. And he's going to go down really easily with the niggle. It's not an easy choice. It's not an easy choice at all. Some people would argue instantly for firing it. Some people would argue for keeping it forever. I think my opinion is that since guard is so good, I would probably consider keeping it and just remove his Apo rights. Like, the moment he gets another injury or if he dies or whatever, he's probably gone. But it's hard to not abuse the guard, I think, is what I would consider. He is a TD away from leveling. Maybe if you can force him through one more game and see if you can get him an easy TD or an easy level, and see if he can get something else nice, maybe consider it. You do have the money to replace him pretty easily. It's a tough decision, and I would probably ask somebody who coaches elves more often than I do what their opinion is. It's a hard choice, honestly. Let's move on. We'll take a look at the Chew Toys 1310 Necromantic team, coached by Abnormal. Near the bottom of the division, unfortunately, with 2-5-5, and he's got his game later with the Wood Elves we just looked at. Yeah, see, some people say I'd keep him. Some people think they'd fire it. And it's not an easy decision. So if people are interested in watching this game, I'd be happy to stream it, I think. But if I'm not going to get a lot of people interested, honestly, sleeping is probably a good choice too. Still only has one werewolf on this team, as far as I can tell. Yeah, but that werewolf is a good one with block and mighty blow. Claw block, mighty blow, frenzy, pretty good, it turns out. 2 flesh golems. One has picked up strength. So, Necro don't really have mummies, but now they do. This one does with strength 5. It'll slow down as progression to guard or block, but that strength 5 stand firm is even more annoying than strength 4 stand firm, and also makes them a lot easier to get some easy blocks with and stuff. So that's a really nice pickup. Guard white, pretty good, especially since you don't have guard on one of these flesh golems. You're less likely to get guard quickly on flesh golems than you are to get it on mummies, so you'll often see guard faster on whites than on in Necro than on undead. He didn't start with it though. He started with mighty blow, but now he has the guard, which is good. Missed next game, unfortunately, so he's going to have no guard going into his game against the Wood Elves. Not that it's going to help a tremendous amount, I don't think. Guard does not really make that much of a difference against the Wood Elves. Although mighty blow does certainly help, and there's a mighty blow white willing to take advantage of that. He doesn't really have any tackle though. If this is a mighty blow tackle, it would be a lot more terrifying. There's no tackle, so that could be scary. He's got sort of poor man's tackle in frenzy, right? You get 2 shots at the ball, but if he's not careful with this werewolf, then that's pretty easy frenzy trap sometimes. And he does have block, so he's a bit more safe. But if that wolf goes down, it's going to be hard for him to do a whole lot. Got a Blodge Ghoul, good ball carrier, not a zombie. The zombie is kick and block. Always nice to have kick somewhere. Bone Diddley, the zombie, is fend and dirty player. So fend is nice at sort of keeping him alive. If he just gets pushes, he can stop people from following up. Then he can utilize that dirty player on down players. Agi 1 zombie. Oh no, how terrible. Whatever, just put him on the line and he'll die. It's fine. Or foul with him. You get a huge bench. And block zombie. Pretty standard. Sometimes you'll see even more dirty player, but he's elected to take another block to be extra annoying. Sometimes zombies are really good for just throwing up against players, like Flesh Golem-esque, and just being like, here, have a cheap player I don't care about who's going to tie up your Saurus for several turns or whatever. And block just makes that even more annoying, so it's a good skill to have there. It looks like too many zombies, but he's missing 2 players, right? So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. This is only 2 benches. Once this white comes back, having 14 is kind of dumb, but 13 I think is fine, right? I would keep 13. Next game you can fire 1, and then the game after that, when you pick up another werewolf, you can fire another 1. So I think it's fine for now. We've got Hogstench. Oh no, he's been expelled from the league. Nope. He has just left this competition because he's been invited to the playoffs. This is Just Not Knockers, coached by Hogstench, our representative to the playoffs from 9E. His opponent has actually been confirmed. He is playing Gdanik from Big O 2, I believe. Teenage Mutant Ninja Goblins, an Underworld team. Which could be pretty scary for these Armor 9 orcs. On the other hand, he's got the players to deal with it for sure. We've got a Tackle Mighty Blow Blitzer. We've got a Tackle Mighty Blow Jump Up Blitzer. We've got a Mighty Blow Piling On Blitzer. Unfortunately, he doesn't have Tackle. And I think that this guy was Tackle, and then he died. Yeah, he's only got 3 matches played. So he was Tackle 3 matches ago, and now there's a new one. But against all those goblins, this Tackle Mighty Blow is going to do some serious work, I think. The jump up is fun. It means he's really close. Normally, I've talked about this before. The jump up isn't super useful right away, but it's hard to pass up the double, especially since he already has Mighty Blow Tackle. And now he's only 4 SPP away from getting that piling on, and then he's Mighty Blow Tackle piling on jump up, which is terrifying. That'll be a really good orc in 4 SPP, which I think he can pull off because he's about to play some goblins. We've got a thrower. Not a huge fan of orc throwers, honestly. They're slow, but having the throw option can sometimes be good. And the free shore hands access can also be pretty good if you're playing against teams that have the sort of strip ball. And he's picked up block, so he's more likely to stay on his feet now. He's still armor 8 and movement 5, but now he's less likely to go down, certainly. Couple totally rookie linemen. And the other downside about the thrower is that if you're running a lean team with only 11 players, you only have 2 non-positionals, so you're going to have to throw somebody on the line. And at that point, you might as well chuck all your Black Orcs on, probably, and that can be a little scary when they're taking hits and stuff. But depends on who you're playing. But I like to have I like to have an extra lineman that he can even pick one up if he wants. Probably not against the Underworld. I don't think he'd need it again. Maybe because there's some claw on that team, certainly. I'd consider having another lineman so that you can have 3 non-positionals on the line. Is something I would consider, I think, certainly. He's got 110k, so he's got enough to pick up a 50k lineman if he wants one, which I think is pretty... which is pretty good. And there's some scary players in that Underworld team. You're probably going to lose someone. I think having a bench probably isn't bad. Then we've got 3 guard Black Orcs and a block Black Orc. This one has also got guard or block. I like 3 at least. 3 in a kind of a line. Like if you put 3 on the line, it can be really scary to try to get through 3 guard packed together like that. Really annoying to get assists and stuff. And then the block suddenly makes them a bit more reliable. It means now that you want these guys need to get 4 SPP really quickly to also pick up block. Because you're going to want, if you're blocking with any Black Orcs now, you're blocking with these 2 because they have block. So they're going to do their actions first because they're safer. Which means these guys are less likely to take blocks because they'll be doing them second, last, and last, respectively. And, either you'll turn over by then or you'll run out of players or whatever. So they're going to get less blocks from now on than these guys. So these guys are going to, since most of the Black Orc levels come from casualties, these 2 guys are going to accelerate their leveling faster than these guys are. So these 2 are probably going to be a bit slower to pick up stuff. So you want to try to get them as block as fast as possible to catch up to the other 2. This is a good-looking Orc team, and I think they have the tools needed to do well against the Underworld, who I will take a look really quickly. Yeah. Oh, Gdanik's here. I don't know if this is accurate because I'm looking at bb2leaguemanager.com instead of actually in-game because I don't want to go find your team as I am lazy. But there's a Claw Tentacles troll. Tentacles, not huge deal against the Orcs, but it looks amazing. Claw's good against Armor 9, it turns out. He's got a Mighty Blow Claw Blitzer, which is amazing against these Orcs because Claw Mighty Blow does things against Armor 9. Speaking of a Claw Mighty Blow Blitzer, there's a Claw Mighty Blow Tackle Piling on Horns Blitzer. So another terrifying Blitzer. This one also with Piling on and Horns, so he can blitz at Strength 4 solo and then do Tackle Piling on nonsense. Not that Tackle makes a big difference against these Orcs. The thing is, he's the team value is 1670, so there's actually 270k on behalf of the Orcs, which is not something you see very often as Orcs. So I think it's probably a good idea for him to pick up an extra lineman to have the 3 positionals to put on the line, and also an extra player because of all the claw he's about to go up against. There's a block 2 heads thrower. There's a block dodge 2 heads leader foul appearance thrower, who's pretty clearly like a ball carrier. You can pick up and hold on with blodge. He's got the 2 heads to dodge out easily, or to dodge, dodge on 2 pluses. Basically, foul appearance, just that extra little make it hard to block him. Blodge foul appearance. As someone who plays Nurgle with a Blodge Chaos Warrior, I can tell you is great. Suddenly it's less than 50% with a 2-die to actually knock them over, and that's so good. Wrestle Thrower. or wrestle lineman. I'm sorry. Always good to have a wrestle piece. Got a block plus strength tackle lineman, which is another scary team. Oh, sorry, I'm not looking at the chat. Can we do dwarves next? I need to get back to work. Yeah, we'll do dwarves next, certainly. A couple two-headed goblins. Two-headed goblins are amazing, as anybody who has played goblins will tell you. Dodging 2+ anywhere without regard to things is amazing. Big hand and sidestep thrown in there too to do some more annoying things. So that's going to be a tough game for Hogstench, but you know, being from my division, I'm certainly going to cheer for you. We'll go take a look at the dwarves next really quickly because Razor Sharp is here and he has to go back to work. So this is Liverful by Razor Sharp, 6-2-3 over the season, although some of these are admins because he came in a bit later. Guard. Good lord. This is dwarfs. Guard. Oh, man. Okay, let's start from the top. Doubles on a Troll Slayer, and he elected to take dodge, which is good. Some people elect to take jump up first, because Troll Slayers already have block. They're likely to do a lot of your blitzing. They already have Frenzy. They're very likely to go Mighty Blow piling on. So grabbing jump up is a thing that can help there. Dodge is going to keep him on his feet a lot more, which is also good. It's debatable, which some people take. I think... bling. Sky Blue Monty. Hey, cool. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it, Mr. Halfling himself. Dodge or jump up are both good options. It can be annoying because you kind of want both, and you're not always going to get two doubles. Depends on what you're going to use them for. Mighty Blow Troll Slayers, they're pretty typical first level on a Troll Slayer if you don't get some doubles or anything. And then, man, Mighty Blow on the Blitzer, which is also good. You only had one, now you have another one. You get to do some nice punches on little guys and stuff there. And you don't need guard first on the Blitzers, which sometimes you'll see people take because, oh my god, you are dwarves, aren't you? I mean, you are, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of 7 Longbeards with guard. So that's a dwarf wall of flesh that's not going anywhere, and it's going to be super annoying to deal with. It looks boring, but man, that's terrifying. That's what you take on dwarves, and good lord, does it ever work when you have that much. Scariest dwarves. I don't know if this is the scariest dwarves. You should have seen the ones that were in minors. They had a strength 5 Longbeard. The minor dwarves, Children of Ymir by FD. I think he had more stat ups and doubles on the team than he did normals. It's idiotic to say that tackle is an incredibly useful skill against dwarves, and it was versus his team because he had like 4 blodge dwarves. It was really stupid. But this is a really nice dwarf team that doesn't roll ridiculous level ups. Although you've got a really nice dwarf runner here. In block is so good to pick up on runners. They are a big target for your opponents because they're basically your only person who's really going to ever deal with the ball. They're your fastest player. They're the only player who doesn't start with block. And they're armor 8. Like, they have a giant please kill me target on them from the start of games against dwarves. Picking up block makes them so much safer. And then strength 4. Any stat on a ball carrier is generally good on most teams. Makes them harder to get the cheeky blocks on if your people are diving in at them, whether it be like Wood Elves or Skaven doing like uphill stuff, or whether it's just you've broken free and you need to score, and somebody only has 1 safety to try to get after you. Suddenly that's mostly 2 die uphills for most like strength 3 players and stuff. So that's stats on runners is really good, and this is a really good runner. And even on defense, it's strength 4. He has the ability to go up against more than one player, kind of thing. You kind of want to keep him protected because he's one of your better players and you need him for offense. But in a pinch, you have that strength 4 available to you if you really need to use it. So that's a good looking dwarf team, and I expect to see them do some nonsense next season if you happen to bring them back. So where were we? We were going to go take a look at One Cheese with Rex Longbone. He was top of the division for a while. he went undefeated for, or he had a tie, I think, at one point, but win, 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 win. And then he lost against the Giant Stags, and then he lost to the Snot Knockas, and then he lost to the Broken Boys, and he lost to Komodo Killers, and he lost to the Nut Punchers. So he was doing really well through most of the season. The wheels kind of fell off at the end a little bit, unfortunately. You were my pick to go to the playoffs, and you disappointed me, Rex Longbone. How dare you? You're making my predictions incorrect, and that's your fault. I'm just joking. Well played in the season, my friend. 7-1-5 is nothing to sneeze at, certainly, especially since your last few games were against the Komodo Killers, the Snot Knockas. Those are the two teams that were in competition for playoffs, and you played them basically back to back in your last few games. So not an easy end of the season for you. You played a lot of the tough teams, so well done. I'm just messing with you, dude. Don't worry about it. We've got this is the sort of Storm Vermin thing that I was talking about with the last rat team. Just insta Mighty Blow on both of them in hopes that one of them will roll doubles, and then you can have the Mighty Blow Claw, because that's just so good, and it changes how you play rats pretty significantly. Since he didn't roll doubles, he picked up Tackle, which makes his blitzing options a lot better. It makes it more likely to utilize that Mighty Blow on players with dodge. Throwers picked up Big Hand. He rolled doubles, so now he has the ability to scoop up that ball even when it's in tackle zones. Can be a little rough, considering he's only Agi 3, and if you have Big Hand and you're picking up balls in tackle zones, you are now have to probably dodge into those tackle zones to utilize that, and with Agi 3 and without dodge, that can be scary sometimes, but it's still a good option, and it does counteract rain and stuff, which is pretty good. So you're hoping to pick him up like an Agi or a dodge or something, and it can make that even scarier. Big Hand is such a cool skill, and it looks really cool too. I like how his Big Hand looks grabbing the gun. We've got a block gutter runner, a block sidestep diving tackle gutter runner, so reasonable ball carriers, certainly. And this guy can be extra annoying on defense and stuff too, with blodge sidestep diving tackle. You can throw him on players, and then they're so unlikely to either remove him or dodge away because of that diving tackle. Super annoying player to play against. Nice gutter runner. And then we've got the wrestle strip ball gutter runner to do gutter runner nonsense, where you just dive into cages and uphill people and still remove the ball 60% of the time or whatever it is. Really good gutter runner. And then line rats, because line rats, not a whole lot of skills. You'd like, the one you really care about is you'd like to see maybe kick or dirty player or something, but I believe Rex had a kick lineman and then wasn't able to keep him alive because, line rats die. That's what line rats do, unfortunately. But the players that matter have some development, which is certainly good. For 2 turns, I had a kick line rat. Oh, so disappointing. And a dirty player line rat, yeah. Those are the 2 skills you like to see on rats. They're expendable. They're mostly cheap. They're armor 7. They're really high movement. Kick and dirty player are good skills to have on them. Sierra Boys Giant Stags got some wood elves. Some wood elves being the operative word here. There are not many left. Big fan of one turning. Sierra Boys is. Not many wood elves left, but good lord, look at the ones that are alive. Wow. Oh man. Sierra Boys, big fan of one turning, and it certainly makes it a lot easier when you have a movement 8 Agi 5 catcher. In the game against the Knights of Windrip 2 weeks ago, we saw him line up on turn 1 to try to pull off a one turn on turn 1. Anytime he gets the opportunity to do so, he takes it, and with the movement 5 movement 9 Agi 5 catcher, he can certainly do that. He also has the wrestle and the Agi if he wants to use this player on defense to use that movement, that Agi with dodge and that wrestle to snake in and steal balls from people. Look at these stat ups. This is ridiculous. I'll get to those players though. This is the first player that really matters this year, boys. So now that we have that one double stat up wood elf, we'll move on to the second stat up wood elf, the Agi 5 dodge lineman. That is an Agi 5 dodge player. I don't care about your tackle zones. I'm still going to dodge through your tackle zones on a 2+. Easy catches, easy throws. You can do some more elf nonsense with this pretty easily. We've got a strength lineman. It's not quite a strength war dancer, but oh boy. Another strength 4 wood elf can certainly help a lot in certain situations. Solo blocks against people. He's not likely to be caught up against stuff because you can get 2 dies against any 3 strength players, or you have the options of just dodging because you're wood elves. These are some pretty serious wood elves. On top of all those stat ups, look at this tree. Please, Sierra boys, if you're listening, you need to submit this tree to the Superstar Shootout because halflings are in it. I mean, I don't know if that counts. It's a wood elf tree, but I really want this to be on the halfling team because this is a move plus movement plus block. This is a block plus movement tree. This is super dumb. This is super dumb. I want this tree. I want to see this tree in the Superstar Shootout so bad. I don't know if it counts, and I don't know if wood elves are in it or not. But somebody submit this tree to the Superstar Shootout and see if it makes it, because good lord, this is a block tree, which is already amazing. And suddenly it makes him way more reliable at stuff. It's so easy for you to get 2 dies and 3 dies with tree men, but sometimes 2 dies give you both downs, and then you have to spend a reroll on loner, and that's not fun. Block makes it way better, and it's more likely for you to utilize that mighty blow and remove players. So the other big weakness of trees is that they have to roll dice to stand up because they're only movement 2 and it costs 3 movement to stand up. Well, you know what? This tree is movement 3 now, so who cares? Oh my god, that's such a good tree. This tree just always stands up. Doesn't need to roll anything. That's a 4+ that you don't need to roll. This tree is so good. Oh my god. I'm really pleased with this tree. Plus movement frenzy tree, that's really funny. Can't imagine it did amazingly, but that's really funny. We've got only one war dancer, and he's a rookie, unfortunately. So just the cost of having all these good players is that apparently you don't have good war dancers, considering there's only one, which is really unfortunate. He'd really love to have 2. But fortunately, war dancers are like the best player in the game right out of the box as rookies. They're super expensive, but Blodge as a rookie player with 0 skills is so good. Blodge Leap, even better. Blodge Leap, Edgy 4, Movement 8, even better. Turns out war dancers are really good. As soon as you get the money to buy a second one, which might be a bit away because you're only at 60k, you'd love to have another one. You'd love to have 2. You kind of want to as a wood elf, but I mean, I would sacrifice a war dancer for a couple games to have players like these. Oh my god, it's a good looking wood elf team. He certainly did. He had a lot of players that died on him. Sometimes he plays really greedily though. He like goes for 1 turns at every opportunity, even when you don't really need to. He's a pretty greedy wood elf player. And that costs you wood elves sometimes, but it also wins you games sometimes. And he's been rewarded with these players. So well done, Sierra boys. I'm excited to see what you do with those guys. This is Volpez and Kulta, the Komodo Killers, our outside chance at the playoffs. They needed to win their last week's game in order to overtake Hogstench. But unfortunately, Morally and Friendship is Massacre destroyed Volpez's hopes and dreams and prevented him from going to the playoffs. He had a really rough game. He lost a Saurus. It just straight up died. He had an armor bust, or he had a career-ending injury on a skink. His Saurus was mixed next game. Like that was a really bad game for him. Let me show you real quick. There were we looked at this before, but for those of you just joining us, he took 5 injuries and a death from the undead, which is not something you really expect to see happen to lizards very often, but it did in this case. So he's recovering a bit from that. Fortunately for him, he does have a strength 5 Blocksaurus, which is pretty good. So we'll get to see him pick up probably Tackle or Mighty Blow next, and he can be a really or even Guard. Like it depends on what you want to do. You can go. You can take one of these 2 guys and make them your blitzer, right? Mighty Blow, Block, Tackle here, and then this guy becomes like can become a second Crocs, right? Like a strength 5 Block, Guard, annoying piece to move. Considering you have a Block, Guard, Crocs already, I mean it's basically another Crocs who doesn't have Bonehead or Prehensile Tail. So that could be a really good option as well. Hey, Shasselbub's here. Welcome. Yeah, it's on a Tuesday, weirdly. Normally they're Wednesdays, but since the playoff stuff happens tomorrow, I figured I would get it done a bit early. 2 Blocksaurus. There were more, but sadly some died in that last game. It was a really rough game for him. The skinks he does have alive are annoying ones, though. Sidestep diving tackle is such an annoying skill combination, especially when they have dodge as well. So these 2 skinks are going to be really annoying, and this one will be annoying as well in a few levels. This team did look a little bit better before its last game. The last game trimmed its TV a little bit, shall we say. So it's going to need a few more games to get back to where it was. But it has a really good foundation with 2 Mighty Blow Blocksaurus, a Strength 5 Blocksaurus, and a Bloxagor. So he's well on his way for next season to be looking pretty good, I think. Friends, speaking of Morley and the team that decimated Volpez's lizards, we've got Captain Bubsy, or Morley, and Friendship is Massacre, the undead team. Speaking of stat-ups, we've got this team. We've got a Guard Block Mummy, which is amazing. Guard is really good on the mummies. Block makes your Strength 5, like, oh man, that's such a good player. You know, no Negatrait big guys. You know, Strength 5, Armor 9, Mighty Blow. And then suddenly having Block to make them even more reliable and Guard to be annoying is such a good skill combination. The only downside about mummies is that they're movement 3. Oh, wait. We've got Apple Jackhammer, the movement 4 mummy, also with Guard. And he has picked up a Mighty Blow. Or not Mighty Blow. He has Mighty Blow. He's picked up Break Tackle. So you can dodge on a 2+, even into another tackle zone if you want, to utilize that Guard wherever you want, utilize that movement 4 to move this mummy to really useful places. Like, that's a super good mummy. I think you should put if I don't know if they are an option or not, but I think if undead are an option, you should suggest this guy because he's really, or no, they're not an option. I don't think they are an option. Never mind. We've got a Guard Mighty Blow White. Normally you'll see undead go like Mighty Blow Tackle or something first, because you can get Guard on the mummies really quickly, as opposed to Necro, where they'll grab Guard on whites first because they tend to take block and stuff on the flesh golems. But since he went movement on a mummy, I totally agree that putting Guard on this white is good at the start. Another mobile Guard piece, more mobile than the mummies anyway. And then he picked up Mighty Blow after. And then we've got an Agi White, which is super good. You get some, especially since you have this Agi Ghoul, you can do some like pass plays and stuff if you really want to with Agi 4. It also lets him dodge pretty easily to take on stuff. And we've seen him, how well that works. He's got Mighty Blow as well. Probably pick up maybe Tackle next or something. That's the one thing I think this team is missing right now, is there's not a whole lot of Tackle anywhere. Yeah, where's the Leap Mummy? So we've got a Ghoul, a Blodge, Sure Hands, Agi 4 Ghoul. Something that one thing that people always say about undead is that they're difficult to get beyond sort of mid TV, unless you roll some stat ups. Well, got some stat ups, so this is going to be a scary undead team going forward next season. Certainly, I think they'll do really well. Taroth Gaming, thank you for the follow. We've got Spike the skeleton, the like meme foul skeleton that you normally see undead or necro teams pick up, and hope to level to give Dirty Player. Has leveled and gotten Dirty Player. So now you've got your slightly more agile movement 5 fowler instead of the zombies. This is a good undead team. These positionals are really good. The only thing I'd say you were missing here, I think, is a bit of tackle somewhere. Like, you know, Flareshire or Painbow Dash probably wants to pick up tackle when they can. And other than that, this team is amazing. Spike is so good. Like, you see people recommend everywhere, like, have one skeleton for the movement 5 fouling, but almost nobody either does it or actually happens to level the skeleton because they don't level. Like, you don't try to get touchdowns on skeletons or zombies. So it's hard for you to choose who gets leveled. But you just happen to get the skeleton level, so you really do have the Dirty Player skeleton. It's great. Got a Kick Zombie, unfortunately out for another game, but Kick is generally a pretty good option to take, especially when you have players like this who want to get into the fray really quickly. You can kick short and then just dump your players at people. It works pretty good. And then we've got a Raj Ghoul for doing ball hawking duties. certainly good. Movement 7 Raj, pretty good for catching up to players and removing balls and stuff. So really good looking team. I'm looking forward to see what you do next season. Maybe we'll see you do some cool things next season. Maybe I'll be in some of your divisions. I'll be playing in REL next season, likely. I haven't decided whether I'll be doing a fresh team yet or my continuing a team. So my pop filter won't sit correctly. There we go. So maybe I'll see some of you in a division next season, which is pretty exciting. Nagaron Nut Punchers, coached by Squids, 1550 Dark Elves. 5-1-7. So not the greatest record, but slightly lower on mid-table. They do have the honor of my favorite player name in this division, though, with Cockrip Dong Smash, the Dark Elf Blitzer, who has picked up Mighty Blow very appropriately. We've got a stat freak Witch Elf, because look at this guy. Are most of us likely to stay in some sub-Realm 9 division next season? No. So all of the letter divisions are for fresh teams generally. And the divisions, depending, you'll get moved up basically for sure. You will not be in one of the letter divisions, and it depends on your record and what your TV is, how far you go up. But you'll likely go up 1 to 3 divisions. Like our playoff coaches will probably move up quite a bit, but those of you that finish sort of mid to top table will probably move up 2 or 3 divisions. So maybe REL 7 or REL 6 or something. Depends on they try to set them up based on performance last season, TV values, and to a lesser extent time zone. So you'll move up some certainly. But this is a stat freak Witch Elf, strength 4 agi 5 block. You want leap now, and you have an amazing ball hawk sort of faux war dancer. That's such a good Witch Elf. Frenzy, strength 4. Ugh. This is a good word. This is a good, disgusting Witch Elf. Disgusting is the correct word to use. Rookie Witch. We've got a Strip Ball Blitzer, which is kind of interesting. You don't see that too often. But Blodge Strip Ball, so you've got another good option for removing the ball from people. Got the Mighty Blow Blitzer, which is really good. It's always great to be able to pick up Mighty Blow as an elf team, especially as Dark Elves, who are slightly bashier elf team. Another Blodge Blitzer. Blodges are good skills, certainly. A Kick Niggle lineman. The Kick guy isn't likely to get hit super often, so it's not terrible. And Kick is really good to have as a Dark Elf player, or as an elf player in general. But the Niggle is pretty bad. I would consider, as soon as you get a level, I would fire him and get another Kick one. So, yeah. Let me get Leap next skill. Roll Strength again. Well, never mind. A Wrestle lineman, another skill you often see on linemen. Dodge is another one. This guy has got Dodge Sidestep, which is kind of interesting. I'm surprised he didn't go Blodge to get another Blodge player. Because that would be, 3 Blodge players would be pretty good to have Blodge. And another double to pick up Guard, and we know how good Guard is on elf teams. This is we talked about this a while ago. He got decimated really early in the season. He was down to 2 Blitzers or something, and 1 Witch Elf. But he had some stat ups, and we said that this team could get really good once it's managed to recover, and it looks like it's managed to mostly recover. He's got all 4 Blitzers now. The only thing he's missing is maybe a 3rd reroll if he wants to get one, but you don't really need it too badly. He's got both Witch Elves now, and this one is looking terrifying. So he's done a good job at coming back from his deficit sort of early season with what happened to him. I love Cockrip Dong Smash. Yeah, he finally stabilized and has managed to get back up to where he wanted to be. Broken Boys, now that Shazalbab is actually here, we can take a look at his team with him live in chat. Finally, a Tomb Guardian has a level. Unfortunately, we've talked about this in a lot of the previous div reviews, is that he had there was a very tall Tomb Guardian. He had all of his SPP on 1 Tomb Guardian, and the scary part about that, which I said in week 4 or 5 or whatever, is that if that Tomb Guardian dies, suddenly you have no SPP on Tomb Guardians anymore. And Tomb Guardians can die because decay is a thing. And then the next week the Tomb Guardian died, which was really unfortunate. But he's managed to build them back up again. He's still got 2 at 0, which is super unfortunate. You really want to pick up. It can be so hard to get the first level on Tomb Guardians as Khemri. because they basically only get it from MVPs and Kaz's. And once you get that first level, you can pick up Mighty Blow, and then as you see, the development accelerates a lot more quickly, because making Mighty Blow hits means that you get more Kaz's, and then you get more SPP, and then they can level and become even more useful. But that first level can be really painful on Tomb Guardians, so that's a little unfortunate. We don't have as much there as we'd like, but you'll get there. To make up for that, he's got really gross Blitz Ras. Oh my god. We looked, even ignoring the strength, when we looked at this team 2 weeks ago, there were 2 Mighty Blow Tackle Blitz Ras, which are amazing, because now you can do blitzes every turn with Mighty Blow Tackle. They're so likely to knock over players, and then they have the Mighty Blow to, accelerate their leveling. And then, new to this week or last week, he's picked up Strength, so now we've got the Strength 4 Mighty Blow Tackle Blitz Ra, which is even worse. Good lord. It makes them easy 2-dives without assists. It makes them harder to knock over. Much better. And then to counteract the biggest weakness that Kimry have, we've got the Dream plus Agi Throw Ra. This player is a hero. And then my favorite Throw Ra, the one he bought by accident. He bought this like week 2 because he was trying to buy an extra skeleton. He accidentally bought a second Throw Ra. Now he has 2. But man, look at this guy. That's also a hero. Any Agi ups on Khemri anywhere is a godsend. I have a Khemri team with a plus Agi skeleton who I just use as my ball carrier over the Throw Ra all the time, because Agi 3 is so much better than 2 for picking up. But Agi 3 Sure Hands is even better. That takes away the biggest weakness you have. You've got block to keep him on his feet. He's even got a pending level up. I'm interested to know what that is. If that's just normals, I wonder what that is. If it's just normals, what do we take? I mean, Kickoff Return is probably a good option, because you're only movement 6, so you can, when you have one player who basically has to pick up the ball, having that few extra squares of movement to get him places can be pretty useful. You stick him in the middle of the pitch, and then you have a few extra squares to get to where the ball's going to be, instead of having to separate your 2 Throw Ras and hope that it lands near this guy. Kickoff Return is probably a really good option there. Fend is another good one for ball carriers if you have nothing really to do, because it prevents people from following up and sticking on you if they only get the push. I think I would probably take Kickoff Return for that. It's a good looking, we don't have the development that we want on the Tomb Guardians, but to make up for it, we've got some really good Blitz Ras and a Throw Ra that every Khemri player dreams of. So unfortunate with the Tomb Guardians, but these players make up for it, certainly. Got a Kick Skeleton, a Dirty Player Skeleton. The only levels you care about on skeletons. These guys will probably all be Dirty Player at some point. Stomp, stomp, stomp. Utilize those 40k linemen. Utilize the pure removal game that you can play as Khemri to make it even worse for your opponents. Cool. And we've already looked at Liverful and Razor Sharp. So we'll move on to last 2 teams. This is going to be another really long video, and that's fine. Without Shadora here to keep me in check, I talk a lot. And this is also the last one, so I think it's fun to we can go over a bit more in detail than we normally would. Knights of Windrip. This was a replacement team that came in a bit later into the season, 6-1-3. And in continuing with our tradition of the last 3 stat freak teams, we've got another stat freak team. These blitzers are gross. Look at this. Only one of them has rolled normals. This guy rolled doubles to get Mighty Blow, which is an amazing skill on blitzers. Helps them level faster. These guys are often going to be doing blitzing because they're block and dauntless and movement 7. And now he's picked up Mighty Blow. This guy has picked up plus Agi and plus Strength. This guy has picked up plus Agi. These are stupid blitzers. Especially the Agi, right? So with the catch, the thing that that Bretonnians will do a lot is they do have catch access and pass access and stuff, but they're only Agi 3, so that makes it a lot harder to do the long passes because of minus to passing when you're throwing a certain distance. So you will see a lot of short passes. You'll see a lot of movement, handoff, movement, short pass, move to score kind of stuff, like the sort of running dark elfy style play maybe, or rugby style play if you want to put it that way. But with Agi 4, suddenly that opens up the long pass type game. you can play a lot more elfy with the Ag4, and because these guys start with catch, and they have pass access. They have pass access and agility access. So with 2 Ag4 guys, you can build a pretty terrifying like thrower catcher setup here if you really want to. Although this guy's probably going to be doing some nonsense because of strength 4. But these are really good blitzers. Pretty standard blocker levels. This guy minus movement is really unfortunate. You have the money, so I think you'd probably replace him. The movement 5 is just so slow compared to the rest of your team. Although having the tackle is nice. I think you can afford to you got 2 guys that are really close to leveling to get another tackle. I think you can afford to replace him, and you don't want him to get another MVP and get a second level when you're going to want to get rid of him anyway, and you have the money. So I would say turf this guy. But this blocker is really good. Wrestle tackle, amazing for knocking down players. Guard, this is your only like easy strength access, so this is where you pick up guard. And I've said this a million times if you watched my div reviews, but guard wrestle seems weird, but I think it's amazing. People have to basically knock down the guard player before they knock down you, right? If you have the guard in the correct place, because they need to remove the guard. But if they get a both down, then suddenly they're also on the ground and they're no longer providing an assist anymore themselves. So I think it's actually a surprisingly good combination. Block would potentially be better, but I think it's not nearly as bad as people would expect it to be. Leaping Death Roller, it's really good. The animation looks super cool. We've got some peasants. Peasants do peasant things. We've got a block peasant, and we've got a kick peasant. The only thing I would consider maybe you've already got the kick, so this stuff doesn't matter as much. Maybe take some dirty player, do some fouling. I'm a big fan of fouling, especially with 40k linemen. This guy becomes a really annoying line piece, though, with block and fend. He's, you can throw him on the LOS, and he becomes surprisingly annoying to knock over. And lastly, in this division, we have the Warpfire Stalkers, coached by Grey Wesker, another addition to this division later in the season. So his 6-1-2 record is a little different than you'd expect. But this is what that team looks like. As we can see, not a whole lot of development, and that's the problem with coming in late into a fresh division. When you get admin results to pick up that SPP, it doesn't always go where you want it to go. So he's got a bunch of random stuff, right? Like 5 SPP goblins here and there. One has picked up Sidestep, which is surprising. The biggest strength of Underworld is that they have kind of free mutation access, and 2-head goblins are so good. They're like one of my favorite players in the game. Dodging on a 2+ literally anywhere because of stunty and 2 heads. Super good. I can understand the Sidestep. It's another really good option, but consider 2 heads for these other guys because, man, it's super good. We've got nothing on this troll, but really close to something. We've got a Horn Skaven Blitzer, and we've got a Claw Skaven Lineman. A Claw Block Skaven Lineman, so this is kind of like a fake Storm Vermin, as it were. He can, if he rolls doubles, he can pick up Mighty Blow and be a super fake Storm Vermin. The Horns is another surprising thing. Horns is good, certainly, but one of the biggest strengths of Underworld is that they have super easy access to Claw Mighty Blow, so like rushing that on blitzers I think is a good idea. Horns is also really good, don't get me wrong. I think that's a good skill, certainly. Has this guy been replaced recently? Maybe not. He just hasn't gotten any SPP, unfortunately. But rushing Claw Mighty Blow on these 2 guys I think is pretty good. Then we've got a Skaven Thrower with Nerves of Steel. Kind of interesting. It makes them pretty easy to actually do those passes, though, without worrying about tackle zones. Passing off to like a Goblin or this Agi4 lineman. Although this Agi4 lineman has extra arms, so I feel like he's probably doing a lot of the pickups over the thrower, because this is a this is interesting. He took extra arms after he took the Agi. It's kind of like pseudo big hand, because this is basically Agi5 for picking up, which means you can still pick up on a 2+ even in the rain or in a tackle zone. So that's kind of interesting. so it's way more reliable ball pickups, even without like the sure hands and stuff. It's kind of a 2+ regardless of the situation, which can be pretty good. But you know, not a whole lot of levels. Some fun mutations. I really like the look of the mutations on these players. Underworld is such a fun team. One of the best models in the game is a troll with tentacles. I like the horns on the Skaven Blitzer too, because like these horns make such a big difference compared to this giant drill bit nose that he has. I feel like this is more important for like blitzing than these tiny little horns, but you know, whatever. So yeah, that's the divisions. That is 9D and 9E, and that is week 13, the final review of all these divisions. Thanks for hanging out with me for the last 13 weeks or so, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me and Shadora for the last 13 weeks. It's certainly been a lot of fun, and I'm glad. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I love talking about Blood Bowl. I love having this regular stream that I can do, and it's so fun to interact with all you guys. You've kind of fostered a real sort of sense of community amongst the 9D and 9E folks, and I hope I get to either play against some of you or see how well you do in the coming season. And congratulations to, once again, to Hogstench and to Jeff, our 2 playoff representatives from these divisions. I hope you guys all cheer them on. I know I will be. Hogstench, in particular, has his game scheduled already. It's going to take place 00:30 UTC Tuesday, which is 9:30 p.m. my time Monday, which is 8:30 p.m. EST Monday, if that makes sense. So that is Hogstench's game against Kodiak, and I will be casting that. I don't know who the div reviewer for Big O2 is, Kodiak, but maybe we can get him as a co-caster. But I will be casting that match on this channel. So if you want to see Hogstench perform well, feel free to tune into that. I will be doing that, and I will be trying to be doing Jeff's game. And Shadora, our very own Shadora, is also in the playoffs, being the Minors champion. I have first dibs on casting his game too, so that'll be fun. I hope to see you guys there for that one. We don't know when that's scheduled yet because he's still in Japan. He doesn't get back till Saturday, so it'll probably be like Sunday, Monday, or Tuesday. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot else to say. I've got some games scheduled myself if you feel like taking a look at the games that I play. A little self-plug, as it were. I'm allowed to do that. It's my channel, right? On Thursday, this Thursday at 11 p.m. UTC, I've got a World Cup qualifier game that I'll be playing in. My Undead versus Praswilfa, who's a college coach in REBBL. I think it's Dark Elves. That's what he's playing in college. I don't know what he's playing in the World Cup qualifiers, but I'll be playing him on Thursday. And then I've got an 80 English Chaos Invitational game on Sunday at 1400 UTC on Sunday. So those are 2 streams that will definitely be happening for me if you feel like watching me do stuff. I hope you guys are all really excited. Tomorrow is when the playoffs start. Herringzord will be doing a playoff opener at 8 p.m. UTC tomorrow. I'm super excited for that. Apparently he's done some fancy new videos, and we all know how good Herringzord's videos are. I hope you guys are hyped for playoffs. I'm super hyped for playoffs. I'll see you guys in the streams tomorrow. Hopefully I'll see you in my streams Thursday and Sunday this week. Thanks for hanging out with me all season. I really, really liked it. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys next time.